Right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we are going to be taking a good look at what's in front of me here. We've got the Callaway driver range Quantum, new for 2026. So we've got Sam in the bay, as per usual. How are you, mate?
I'm good, Joe. How are you?
I'm all right, I'm better. Then we've got cameraman Tom over there. He's a bit down in the dumps. He's feeling a bit poorly. So
we'll cheer him up with a nice video, won't we?
Well, yeah, I'm just worried we're all going to get poorly in here. It's not very well ventilated, so we'll just try and keep away from him. But yeah, he can just do his own thing. But yes, we're going to look into this Callaway Quantum range. We've said this a couple of times in review season. It's quite a big year for Callaway. There's a few driver launch season last year. It was I hesitate to say a little bit meh. There was some decent product, but nothing that really moved the goalpost. So it's probably, again, important that Callaway have a good year here, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I really liked AI Smoke, and I think that kind of ran true with...
I laughed then, I'm sorry, because it's good that you liked AI Smoke, because in the playing profile of this entire range, which I'll put up in a little while... The person that designed the crowns here for Callaway didn't have a busy time. He or she didn't have a particularly busy time because it is literally copy and paste in terms of the crown colour, the shaping, the banner. Like it is.
I wonder though if they've gone right. That was a massive success. Elyte not so popular. They changed it up. They went to that pure black gloss crown, especially on the TD at least. But they also had the matte carbon on the kind of standard model and the Max D. So I wonder if they've gone, that wasn't broken. Why did we try and fix it? Let's revert back.
And you know what? Fair play. Like if that's what, people, you can't suggest you've done everything perfect all the time. If they looked at that and gone, okay, people didn't like that, we didn't love it as much. Let's get back to something we know is successful and people absolutely loved. It's great, and it'd be a really welcome addition to a lot of people, that. But yeah, before we get you hitting, let's just give you a little intro to the range because it is slightly different this year. So we've got our normal triple diamond. We've got the Max, which is kind of the core model, if you like, the broadest spectrum. We've got the Max D, so the draw bias version. But we've also got a newish edition in the Triple Diamond Max. We've seen it before with Callaway. They've done this where they brought in a tour-only head and sort of released it limited edition later into the range. But it's like straight in the full lineup this year, which is an interesting move, isn't it?
Yeah, really interesting. I think... I'm excited to see how that performs especially against the Triple Diamond. I think sometimes the low spinning heads, I mean, that's exactly why they've made the Triple Diamond Max right on tour. There's probably guys going, I don't quite spin it enough, or I'm not quite as quick as I need to be for the TD, but I like the property, I like the shaping, I like the idea of it.
Well, there's also the volatility. So the people that go into that kind of low spin head, you often having to go into it knowing that I'm sacrificing something on stability here and forgiveness. It's an interesting sort of middle ground, and we've seen it already with Qi4D making that almost like the core head be the dot head from Tour. So it's interesting to see how some of this Tour stuff's spilling over. But before I get you hit in, let's just give a little bit about tech. If you want to know loads about the tech, go and read our reviews over on Golf Monthly on the website. But we'll just touch on it a little bit here. The story is pretty much about speed this time around, and the club face is the main thing here. So I've got actually a little model that Callaway sent me that you put apart, and you can see all the inner workings. And the face is the sort of interesting bit here because we've got three parts. They're calling it what do they call it? The Triforce face, is it, Sam? Yeah?
That is it, yep.
So we've got an ultra thin titanium, that little bit, I think, a poly mesh that sits behind that, and then carbon fibre that sits behind that, all squeezed together. So it's basically a three-part face, and it's been AI optimized for speed. So we're going to put that to the test and see if it sort of works. So let's get you hitting, Sam. We're going to start with the Triple Diamond. As normal, we've standardized everything. So we're going to use the same Ventus 6X, Fujikura Ventus 6X Vela Core Plus shaft in all of these. We've spec'd out this head already, well, the whole club. So stated loft on the head is 9 degrees. Measures, it's a bit lower than that. It's like kind of 8.25 really. So within a degree. Sits a little bit open, which I'll talk about in a minute. 3 degrees open. And the rest of the specs will be up there on the screen for you. So initial impressions, where you at?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, one shot in and it was, pretty solid there. I mean, it feels... I think Callaway do a good job in this, where they make their drivers feel quite firm, but not too firm. They feel firm enough that it really feels like a thud, like it's a hit.
I'm always looking for words for that in the reviews, you know, like, and I often use like robust, industrial. If you've got any better ones, let me know, because I'd like to use them in the reviews. But yeah, it's not marshmallowy, it's not mollycoddle in your hands. You know you've hit it, don't you? But again, it's not a clang either.
Yeah, they do a really good job on that. And that ran true straight away there. That felt really solid. Good ball flight. We'll need to clip a few more away, but I like the shaping behind the TD.
See, we've had this discussion, and I'm a bit ambivalent towards it, because I really liked the Elyte Triple Diamond of last year, but ultimately it came out of my bag because I couldn't quite sort of square off the slightly triangular shape. I think since we brought in these round, the higher MOI heads, the symmetry of that and the larger footprint has kind of suited my eye. And when I see these slightly more triangular Cobra's the same, the new Cobra range, it just, I don't know, and which is why I was a little bit excited to see that Triple Diamond Max, which is a touch rounder, which we'll get to that. So that triangular stuff.
But it's quite funny. I think we almost look for slightly opposites in our golf clubs. Like you're prone to a miss right, I'm prone to a miss left. I like to see the face almost slightly open at address, which is probably why I gravitate towards this model. Yeah. And it does look open as well. When you rest that on the floor, again, we've spoken about this. If you're a hoverer, it's less relevant, but when you just place it on the floor and let the ground do its thing, it does sit considerably right. It does, yeah. And I know we've spoken about this in other launches, but this banner strip on the top, what I find quite interesting, compared to Cobra have a very straight line on their banner strip. Yeah. Whereas this is almost, it curves with the kind of roll on the face. So what does that do for you? Because you were saying you're somebody who likes to see that. You use that banner strip for alignment. Does the curvature of the banner strip affect things to you or not? Not at all. Actually, I quite like it because it almost accentuates the fact that the face is sat slightly open, which I like. But it's almost square enough in the middle of the face where I am lining the ball up that it still gives me some reference point there. It's interesting that. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. But this is. It's hard to say. I would have to have the full fitting, but I think out of the lineup, this is probably the head my eyes would gravitate towards, at least. Come on, give me another one then. Rip another one down there, and then we'll move on to the Max, and we'll start to talk about that. We're going to look at all the data for all of these drives. We'll put them up together. We're going to do, Sam's going to hit a few more with each, so we'll have a look at how they compare. It's depressing watching Sam. Look at that. That's very good again. Cool, so good start. Much, I wouldn't say dramatically improved from the Triple Diamond in the Elyte range, just more of the same there. Both the Triple Diamond for probably 3 generations now. The Paradigm, the AI Smoke, the Elyte. It's been a really good, solid, low spin driver. Yeah. And this is just more of the same from that. I have noticed my testing, I found these heads generally pretty cool. Oh, you just paused then because you thought you were going to hit it on the line, didn't you? We have to call that a heads line ball. Generally have been pretty quick in this lineup. So I've been looking at smash factor a lot. So efficiency, the ball speed relative to the collection speed, and I would say whatever's gone on with the tech of the face seems to be suiting you as well here, Sam. It's been an incredibly efficient head. So, right, take a breather. Let's switch it over to the Max head and see what we've got there. Okay, Sam, you've got the Max in your hands here. Yep. So again, specs will be up on the screen for you. We've measured it out. Stated loft 9, getting a little bit lower. This is pretty much bang on 8 degrees. So it was a little bit lower than the stated loft. Sits a little less open, 2 degrees open. And again, the rest of the specs will be up there with you. What's your first thoughts in behind the ball? Yeah, I mean, straight away, it's a completely different shape down behind the ball compared to the TD. So it's much more stretched out the back. Interesting that it's 2 degrees open. I wouldn't have called that. I think that's, because the last one was a long way open. Yeah. We've almost half that. Sometimes we've been through this before as well. When you look at the top edge of the club and you're looking at how that sits, sometimes there's tricks of the eye that are done there where the top edge doesn't actually totally match where the face angle truly is. Yeah. So I wonder whether there's a bit of that going on here. But I think in behind, personally for me, I really liked it in behind the ball. Again, we're getting more into that kind of stretched, as you said, round the profile. Yeah. I also love that Callaway have gone back to making this a cohesive range in Elyte. Like you said, we had the glossy crown in Triple Diamond. Yeah. Then all of a sudden it almost looked like a completely different driver family from Max upwards. They brought that back in from a crown perspective. The only difference is the little chevron on the top, which I know you're not such a fan of. I'm not. It's traditional. It's Callaway. Callaway's thing. They've got, back in the day with the Big Berthas, the great Big Berthas. Feel free to start clipping away, by the way. But yeah, with the rest of the range, we're used to that little triangle on top.
I just nowadays, I know people use a lot of sort of centering agents on the top of the head, and I'm not necessarily averse to that. I just don't love the triangle. I don't know why.
Okay.
I also think, I look at it as a range and think, well, if we don't need that on the Triple Diamond and the Triple Diamond Max and the Tour only and the better player heads, it feels a bit patronising to the rest of the kind of handicap spectrum and market that will be playing this head. That, oh, you guys, you rubbish, are you? You need a little arrow on the head to tell you which way to go, and oh, you can't centre it, can you? So you need this. So it's like, if you're going to do it for everything or do it for nothing would be my take on that. But I'm very nitpicking there. There's probably a lot worse problems in the world than that, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's not overly offensive. It's actually
offends me, Sam. It's like having the bumpers up at a bowling alley.
It's actually quite a fine line, which I think it's saving grace. If that paint was filled in and we had like a solid white arrow, I think then I would really have a problem with it.
You're right. It's executed nicely. Totally agree. I just, does it need to be there? It would be my only thing. But I'm really
could have saved some paint, couldn't they?
They could have saved some paint, indeed. Yeah. But yeah, another good start for you there. Feel-wise, anything much different to the TD?
No, not really.
And again, I've noticed that in my test. It's just from a visual, from a feel. Yes, they do different things, these models. Yes, we're going to get a little bit more spin. Yes, there's going to be some slightly different MOI properties, but they all feel part of the same family now. It's a very cohesive driver family now. Yeah,
I think straight away like you just mentioned there, the spin is where I'm noticing these straight away. These are pretty much hovering around the 2.4 mark, which is, it's looking like 200 to 300 RPMs more than I was seeing straight away on the Triple Diamond. So, I mean, yeah, club head speed's moving the same. Ball speed has been pretty similar as well. I think the last one was 164, so it's good ball speed out of a... So straight away, if you're after a slightly higher launching, slightly more stable option, then the Max model seems like a good place to go.
We'll have a little rest. We're going to get you getting more of a data set again so we can have a little look at the end. Let's flick that over into one of my favourite draw bias models that have been around for a while, so it'll be interesting to see if this carries on, the Max D. Okay, so the Max D, so our anti-slice driver, it's going to mitigate that kind of left to right ball flight. Now, not necessarily, I was going to say not necessarily for you, but there's been a tour presence of some of the Max D models, isn't there?
Yeah.
Noren, you were telling me that Noren's in a Max D or has been.
Yeah. He was in AI Smoke Max D. Obviously picked up 2 wins last year. I don't think he actually changed into Elyte, so he carried on his AI Smoke Max D into last year and obviously won Wentworth and the week before
Belfry, British Masters.
Yeah, back to big tournament wins for a guy in that driver. So it shows, doesn't it? We're not categorising these as good players, bad players. That's not what we're doing, or Callaway, that's not what the brands are doing. It's just specific player profiles. Ball
flight options, I would imagine as well. I mean, we'll see in terms of spin what you get from this, but I would imagine there may have been some internal work done to his D to kind of mitigate spin, because I noticed a little bit of extra spin that wasn't optimal for me here.
Well, you see his whole, we talk about rehearsals and practice, he's very much like this way, and you can tell he likes to work that fade. So having a face that probably sits a
sits a bit left,
start a little shut. Exactly, that's probably what he's looking for.
Yeah, you're probably absolutely right. Clip a couple away. Let's start to get some data. Again, just a touch lower than the stated loss. So all of these heads we got were in 9 degrees. This is splitting hairs here. It's 8.75.
There we go.
Sits a little bit less open, and there you go. Sam's got his little bit of draw bias in there straight away.
Interestingly, didn't spin much. I'm putting that down to some user error there.
Well, I think because of the way the internal weighting system works here, it allows you to turn that face over a little bit more. When you turn that face over a little bit more, quite often you're turning down a bit of that dynamic loft, and then you're going to lose a little bit of spin. And this is kind of where I was expecting to see you. What you've just done there, it's moving left of target, 2.7 of spin, so a little bit more, and slightly less than optimal for distance for you. But I mean, there's some great options here. Like if you're looking to just take a side of the golf course out of the play, even as a better player, and you just want to go, right, I'm going to want to make sure this ball's going to move left on me.
That one's pretty good there.
There's worse drivers, and I mean, I'm assuming that was a little bit off the top of the club.
Yes, slightly higher,
at that, because that's taken the spin right down. But of all the kind of draw bias drivers that I've tried, this is the closest to one where I go, I could play that. It's not excessive in spin.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I think from a performance standpoint, I definitely could game that. I would have to certainly get used to only moving or attempting to kind of take, like you said, the right side of the golf course out of play. The thing for me would definitely be the aesthetics. I struggle with taking the club a little on the inside anyway.
Okay.
And I rarely miss the ball right. If anything, I do turn it over. So for me, this head almost looks like it's kind of sucked backwards and towards the hill, which makes sense because they'd want more weight in the hill to stop the toe.
Yeah.
To essentially encourage the toe, to turn over. So, but it almost makes it look as though, because it's almost pointing round my right foot, it almost makes me want to take it more on the inside, which is probably, probably a clever design technique from their standpoint.
For the people it's aimed at, really.
Exactly, to encourage, an in-to-out kind of swing path, essentially. So it's all clever, it's all thought about, these things. Would I game it? Probably not. I'm likely to see better performance out of something slightly more suited towards me.
But there's a lot of people that's going to help. If you want that additional sort of right to left bias, but you don't want excessive spin, which often comes with it with some of the models. We didn't really lose much ball speed there either. Like that one, a little high on the face and the spin dropped. But we saw the one before, the ball speed was still good. It just, the spin climbed up. And we just saw it wanting to turn over a little. If you can get those little knuckleballs high off the face at 1900 revs and carry at 296, I think your quid's in, Sam. Right, now, I've been looking forward to this one. I want to get on to what I think is a star of the show here, Triple Diamond Max. Let's see what we've got. Right, as I said, on to what I think is potentially the star of this range. Before we do, Sam, I want to chuck something at your ears. The head cover. Good catch, well taken.
Safe
What
hands.
do you make of that? Because it feels really premium. The leather's really soft. I quite like the colourways. I like that little thing on the top that you can help pull it off with. I know we're talking about clubs here, but people care about the head covers a little bit.
Yeah.
The big letter thing, I'm not sure. I keep seeing these big letter logo hats, which Dan on the podcast absolutely hates. So he's going to hate that head cover. What's your take?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Dan on this one. I don't really like the big letter hats. However, I don't mind this.
Okay.
My only qualm with it, I would rather the chevron actually on the top here than Callaway. I know it's a branding thing. Getting the name on the head cover is something that they probably feel like is important. But you've got the Triforce, you've got the tech on the back. I don't think you need that there, but it's a nice little touch. But yeah, head cover game is strong.
Cool, chuck it back. Let's have a look at TD Max then. So yeah, you start clipping away. What we've got here is, as we said, it was a tour only product. It's the Triple Diamond, but just kind of stretched a bit into a slightly higher spinning, slightly more MOI friendly product, slightly bigger footprint. So it's just kind of bridges that gap between Triple Diamond. You start with a little line ball, Sam.
Nearly.
Very good. He's not bad at golf. Bridges that gap between the low spin model and the core model, and it's a gap that I think works really, really well. In terms of the specs here, this one's bang on, so it's stated at 9. Its actual loft on this club head is exactly 9 degrees. Marginally open at 1.5, swing weighting at D4, rest of the specs will be up there. Now, Callaway have been good at this, as we said, bringing some traditionally tour-only stuff to market, and we've seen bits of that from other companies. You mentioned like the Titleist GT280, their little mini driver that was a tour-only product that I think was probably destined only for tour, but due to some pressure, that's sort of been brought into retail, TaylorMade. I keep alluding to this with that Qi4D core head is essentially the dot head that's been going on from my experience. Do we think this is going to be a theme? Do you think we're going to start seeing more from all manufacturers who've got their own sort of tour-only stuff that's diving into the actual retail market?
To some extent. I personally hope it does, because a lot of the time it's the product that I'd probably like to use. So from a selfish standpoint, yes. It's got to make sense from a retail standpoint. Yeah. It's got to sell, otherwise they're not going to mass produce these clubs. So you see it with Vokey. They have the Wedgeworks scheme. Originally those were tour grinds available for the tour players. Proved to be really popular on tour, so they're probably going, you know what, if it's really popular on tour, there's a chance that it will be fairly popular
and
at retail.
Commercially, it's not a bad idea, because you know, with Wedgeworks, I think you pay a little bit more, don't you?
Yeah, you could upcharge a little.
So,
I don't think TD Max is an upcharge over the TD model. which is nice. Callaway have,
I'll touch on that now actually.
For the people.
Worth mentioning price. So the Triple Diamond and the Triple Diamond Max that you've got in your hands there, £649, $699 recommended retail. The rest of the range, £599, $649. So pretty much where it's been in comparative to the rest of it. Tell me anything more about it, because I think that's kind of where we're at. It's that Triple Diamond. It's stretched out, slightly higher MOI, slightly more playable, bridges that gap. As someone, you've said that we've got slightly different views aesthetically.
Yep.
That's more in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, it doesn't sit, like you said, doesn't sit quite as open as the TD that we put to the test earlier. But I think where this driver excels is the fact that you get the low spin property that you want out of it. This isn't necessarily spinning much more than the TD, if any. They're probably the same kind of spin property, but it's just the head size is slightly larger, so it's probably a touch more stable on miss hits.
Yeah.
And just from an aesthetic standpoint, some people just like a larger head. It just installs a bit of confidence down behind the ball. So you might get guys who actually feel like they could probably swing it quicker because they've got the confidence that if they slightly miss it, it's not actually going to cause any problems.
Well, let's finish. Let's get a little bit of a montage, slow-mo, cinematic, beautiful montage of you smashing these away, Sam.
Cool.
And then we'll get to the data table and we'll see where we're at. Right, Sammy, the results are in, as they say. So I had a little bit of a nightmare with this one, the red one, which is the Triple Diamond. I forgot to tag it, but that's the Triple Diamond that we started with, so a bit of user error there. Apologies. And interesting, so let's compare the top two, so the Triple Diamond Max and the Triple Diamond. Little bit slower, you move the Triple Diamond Max, which sometimes we see when you go up in that kind of larger footprint aerodynamically. I don't know whether that's got anything to do with it.
Yeah, only half a mile per hour, wasn't it? So we're talking very minute differences here.
But even off a slower speed, you nearly a mile an hour quicker. Similar launch angle. Weirdly launching the Triple Diamond a touch higher, but again we're talking within half a degree here.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I was going to say identical spin, but it's within 60 revs. We're talking.
So
very,
you're not
very
going to notice anything there.
Carry numbers almost identical. So we've got very similar product, but what we saw, the two differentiators which I've seen in my testing, I just found that Triple Diamond Max just a little bit less volatile. When you're not a great example of this because you never miss the middle, but when someone like me who does miss the middle a little bit more, it's a little bit more of a safety net with that Triple Diamond Max. I just saw that dispersion being a little bit tighter, and also personally, again, when we get a larger data set, you'll begin to see there's a touch more fade bias in the standard Triple Diamond, and I found that the Max just to be a little bit more neutral. So you got the good players or the quicker players have got a couple of good options there, I think.
Yeah. I think spoilt for choice, I think, this year. I think even the Max, honestly, yes, it didn't quite go as far. We didn't quite... His ball speed was pretty comparative, but obviously that spin...
Through the range there, very, very, very similar ball speeds throughout the range, and then, you're just losing your bit of carry as you go up 300 revs of spin on both the Max and Max D. But it's almost like we've got kind of two sections here. You've got your Triple Diamond and your Triple Diamond Max, very similar products that just offer a fraction different in terms of ball flight, and you kind of got the same at the high end. You've got a little bit more
forgiving
spin,
product.
Slightly more forgiving product, one of which is pretty neutral, and one of which will give you some fairly hefty right to left help. So it's a nice simple range. I think in summary it's been executed brilliantly. I think we've got a great looking range here now. We're back to cohesive, we're back to that familiar crown look. I'm going to pop one up for you now so you can see just one of the models here up against an AI Smoke, and it's pretty remarkably similar, but we've spoken about that, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think it's a popular look, it's come back. It feels great. As you said, this new face is working extremely well in terms of its efficiency. For me, I think Callaway have knocked it out of the park this year. I think it's a really good driver range. Really interested to see what you think about this. Let us know if you've tried it, if you really want to try it. Give us some thoughts, and thanks for watching.